Yes, my speaker today needs no introduction. If there's anybody in the room that doesn't know Nathan Ferrell, then there's something wrong. But Nathan Ferrell is our, it'd be hard to say what grade you really teach because it's a lot of them. How low are you right now? Fourth grade? Third graders?
10th graders. At some point in
Third,
the day.
yes, exactly. Now, that's not all during the day. There's some after school stuff, and that's what Nathan's going to talk to you about today. But Nathan, over the 20 years that he's been with us, he's been 20 years with us, Nathan?
Has been, I think 21.
21. I hired him, by the way, which was a very good hire. Is a very creative, energetic teacher who's focused on the reason we're there, our students. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Nathan Ferrell.
Thank you, and it is always good to be here, and it is a humbling position too, to teach kids. And the program I'm going to talk to you about today is also, it's humbled me as a teacher. It's pushed me. I actually titled the program Beyond Boundaries, because we do have a lot of boundaries that we need to move past, and it has definitely pushed me to move beyond boundaries. So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about creating positive after-school programming. And so that's our goal with 21st Century Grant, which is a federal grant that helps to fund some of the programming we're doing right now. But beyond that, and I'm looking beyond the scope of our grant, how do we fund after-school programming and make it successful for years to come? And so right now, sorry, that's a little bit out of focus. When kids stay, we have about 41, 42 kids that are involved with our programming, ranging from 3rd grade up through 6th grade. And so they come in, and I can't get that to focus perfectly. I apologize for that. Or maybe my glasses could be my eyeballs. But so we meet in our community room, we give them a snack, and then we try to provide 30 minutes of homework help for them. The goal of the program is not just to be a tutoring program. As a matter of fact, that's not the goal at all. So homework and working with them on homework is really something that we want to do just to help parents out, but I really designed it to be more of an enrichment program. So we want to be providing some extra academic time for kids to take them beyond the regular school day and really beyond that boundary of, I didn't know that, or this is only a state standard, but it would be good to teach kids this, and how do we fit that into our school day? This allows us the opportunity to do all of those, and you're going to see from some images, all of those fun things that we don't always get to do during our regular, normally scheduled day. So when they come in, I've allotted about 30 to 35 minutes to teach them an enrichment math program. And so we have, I believe, 15 different teachers that are involved with this program in some capacity. Most of them teach 1 day a week. They've committed to staying from 3 until 5:30 to work with kids. So we try to do that, and even though there are 41 kids involved, try to keep that as small group as possible. I like to keep each class less than 10 kids. And so that really gives them the attention that they desire and allows us to focus on teaching the whole student and not just providing let's just talk and give a lesson to the whole class. We can really target and individualize our students by keeping it in small groups. Then they go to a reading enrichment program, and then I call it PYD, it's Positive Youth Development. And I do that part on my own. So sometimes that means I'm going to pull 3 kids out. We're going to sit down and just have conversation on what went well, what went poorly for the week. How do we encourage one another through the school day? Sometimes it means being involved in a dance class or a yoga class. I have an outside organization coming in right now, and they're teaching songwriting. Which when I first saw it, I thought, how interested are the kids going to be in that? It's really been a highlight. The 2 gentlemen that come in and do it have done a phenomenal job of connecting with our students, working on positive youth development, and teaching them something that normally they wouldn't have been exposed to in their regular school day. So that's kind of what it looks like. And then we do provide transportation home for the kids at 5:30. So every kid, I like to have them back at their house by 6 o'clock at the latest. It's usually our goal on any given day. We also do a morning session so that our buildings open at 7 a.m. And design that just mostly for parents that maybe they go to work at that time and it's difficult, they're dropping their kids off at a babysitter's anyway, they might as well drop them off with us. We provide a teacher for them, and that's really just about connecting with them. I've seen them play games in the morning, I've seen them just sit down and work on homework in the morning. Ryan Miser takes them to play basketball every Tuesday, and a couple of the kids really enjoy doing that. I'm working right now with somebody who's retiring in December. His passion is fishing, so we're going to start fishing club in December. And he's provided a fly fishing rod. He's going to provide fly fishing for all of the kids. We're going to go down and teach them how to do fly fishing. I've stocked my pond with trout. We're going to take them out and go trout fishing in the spring. So, just some of those things that maybe a kid would not have an opportunity, or an adult. Catching a trout, I'd never done it, and so it's really interesting. It's a fun fish to catch. So those are some of the types of programming and some of the schedule that a kid would follow after school. We offer the program on Monday through Thursday. We take Fridays off. So that's how we do it. So, but really, more than logistics or more than funding, what I found through doing this through this year, it really boils down to all about the story of the kid and taking that targeted approach, getting to know some of our kids at a different level, that after school level where their guards let down a little bit and sometimes my guards let down a little bit. But it's really been interesting to meet kids one-on-one at their level in an after-school environment. What I've discovered is really more important than a state standard, more important, I would say, than anything that we do is learning about their story. Where do they come from? What are their passions? What are they good at? What are they gifted at? What do they want to do? Where do they see their future? What's the future hold for them? If they were looking into the crystal ball, what does that crystal ball look like? And trying to understand the whole student, their family, and those dynamics. And so I thought a picture, it paints a much better picture than what I can talk about. So when you look at some of these, some of the images on the screen, we see, one of those young men has never cooked before. He never cracked an egg in the 4th grade. So it's just a new experience for him to cook, and he was so excited to get to cook. And by the way, we have such a beautiful facility to provide our students. We are truly blessed to have all of the facilities we do to provide students with outside of school outcomes. Here Jared's just playing a card game with them, but it's a card game that they've never played. It's this little round robin type of game. And it's interesting to hear the kids say, "Oh, I think I can play this with Grandma. This would be a fun connection I could make with somebody in my family." Tonight we're actually doing a family math night where we're letting all the kids and families come in. We have pizza for them. We're going to share that meal. And then Sandy Brown, bless her, she's organized the entire thing. And then they're going to play some little math games before they go home, trying to connect with those families. Here are just a couple of the girls in the STEAM lab. We've also been blessed over the years to have I think a plethora of supplies for students to use, and so they can come down, and sometimes it's fun just to get some of those supplies out and say, create something that is interesting to you. Some of our robotics, they're able to get in and use it, and when you have a group of 3, you can go much further with kids. That's normally a lesson I would teach to high school kids, but I got some 3rd and 4th and 5th graders on that computer and on that robotic arm manipulating the software. We were able to bring some outside agencies in, so you can see they have soil and water conservation. They came in one night and brought their sand table, which if you've never seen that, it's amazing. It creates a 3D image over top of sand, so they can do all the topography of the area. They can create lakes and streams and see how erosion works through the soil and water conservation, and then they separate them and do a little game with them afterwards to teach them about soil and water. And so it's also good for us to bring some of those outside agencies in. In our ever-changing world, it's hard sometimes to justify those positions, and when we can bring those folks in and say, see, they're providing a vital when I say service, really, it's a service. They're providing a vital service to our community, to our kids, and to our schools. They come in and offer those types of things for free, which is nice, and they do a great job with our kids. So we do some arts and crafts. So again, adding some of those components. Here we're just building some little concrete molding, working on some of that. That's our songwriting crew that came in to work with the kids in the Library Media Center. There's our fishing day. So we went out to the pond and did one small fishing day just to get them out there. And I took them to my house and my pond. Anytime a kid gets to go to the teacher's house, that's a big deal. Because they think we live at school still, some of them. You live somewhere? Yeah, I live somewhere. We got to go fishing. That's our dance class. I have a high school student who comes in and teaches all of the kids to dance. He does a phenomenal job with them. We do everything from carving pumpkins to a Christmas party that's coming up to baking cookies with them. Like I said, just all kinds of fun after-school activities. But I think what is unique is that really each one of these kids has an amazing story to tell. And when I think about where does after-school program, what does that look like? What's the goal of our after-school programming? It's really, I found, is connecting with kids and families. And we always talk about we want to make that connection with the kids, but I think we need to, at this point, move beyond just making a connection with the kids and be able to make a connection with families, and that's a part of it's a beautiful part of our job when we start to understand more of the dynamic that's coming to us every day during the school day. And so, I put, we need to work to support families in a positive and safe environment. That is the #1 goal, and really it's about providing opportunities for parents and teachers to connect, not just for us to connect with a child, but to connect with the whole family, and to create those positive school and family and community interactions. So that's kind of the goals of what we're working toward. I put, as far as how we're going to accomplish that, I really haven't come up with a magic formula for it. It's complex, it really is, and really what it means is we have to focus on every kid and every kid's unique circumstances, every kid's unique story, and that's, I think, with after-school programming, what we have to look at. And I put, every child's different. They come from, there's no standardized curriculum that fits each one of them, but the one thing that I always keep in the back of my mind as we're creating curriculum and creating opportunities for kids is simply this. It's the one thing they all share. They're all uniquely and wonderfully made. And that's about it, other than allowing, I think that hits it in a few words, but focusing on every single day, recognizing that every kid that walks through our door is uniquely and wonderfully made, and we just have to try to reach into that and pull out the very best of them every single day and look for the very best in them every single day. That is what we are called to do. So often I think in education we only look at such negative things. I mean, there are a lot, if we're just being honest, there are a lot of negative things out there, but answering that call to say we are only looking at the positive and beautiful things in these children and recognizing that they are beautifully and wonderfully made is our higher calling. And so I think that's what we're trying to develop. So aside from that, I'm going to take any questions you have about our programming. Sure.
Obviously, building relationships in this is a big part of what you're doing, really. I would guess. I mean, you've probably already seen some changes in them in the school day, how some of these kids interact, I'm guessing, haven't you?
It is, and some of the nice, more definable outcomes are, I had one guy who told me, he's a 4th grader, he got to meet his 5th grade teachers already because they're helping with the program. Believe it or not, a lot of kids are very nervous about that first day of school. I think that's a kid that's probably gonna be like, I already know them, we're good. And probably a lot less nervous on that first day of school because they already know the teacher and the teacher already knows their name. And that's a huge thing. I have one little guy who kind of helps me out, and he can get a little loud and rambunctious in class, but that's not his nature. When you look deeper within him, he's really kind of a quiet kid. And I just asked him one day, I'm like, well, why are you so loud all the time? Because that doesn't seem to be who you are really. And he goes, I just want some attention, and that's how I get it. And I went, well, I asked an obvious question, and I kind of got an obvious answer to that question. But sometimes we forget that, and we need to have those moments just to be a reminder that what this kid is showing us on the outside isn't always what's on the inside. And driving into that, it's relational. You're exactly right. You have to get to know it, to really get to know a child, to really know who are they, and on the inside, not just what are they expressing, because they're a young person and maybe a little frustrated with something. So you're right, it is very relational. That's why we try to keep the groups small, and really even with the teachers and their lessons, we talked about the fact that just get to know the kids and form those relationships and bonds, and that's what our goal is. So, yeah.
You mentioned that this was funded with a grant.
Yeah, it's
okay. And a grant is usually what, one time, unless it's a recurring. How do you fund it? How do you fund this on a sustainable basis?
I want to answer that because he won't tell the truth.
Mr. Countryman.
Mr. Ferrell is probably one of the most humble people I know. And I don't know how many years you've been applying for this grant. How many?
For 3 years, I think 3 or 4.
Maybe 3 or 4 years
he's
he's been trying to get this grant, and denied every year, denied. There's different reasons why we're denied, but this year we got it. And it wouldn't happen without him doing all the organization and stuff that he does. And this grant is worth almost $1 million for the school over a 5-year period.
So is this the first year for it?
And this is our first year, but it doesn't come without an extreme amount of work and requirements from the federal government that we won't get into that because we're in a church and we don't want to say bad words about the federal government. That part we leave out. But I'm telling you, it would not happen without Nathan. He is amazing at doing those things.
That's awesome.
And really, what it's taught me is beyond funding, the story really is the important part too. So, I try to keep the focus away from funding.
But you can't get the story if you can't sustain the program.
It's very true. Yeah, it's a difficult part of the job.
Mr. Farrell, is it the same kids every day, or does it fluctuate some?
It fluctuates with schedules, and that gets tricky as well. So we have certain days where some kids might have basketball or might have another obligation where they don't attend. We have some kids that attend every day, so it just kind of depends on the day. You know, I have some kids that if their schedule changes, the nice thing is the kids really, it's interesting, because I thought, well, our kid's gonna want to come to something like this. But, you know, I had a little guy whose mom popped her head in the door the other day and said, hey, his basketball practice got canceled, do you care if he stays? I'm always like, oh yeah, he can stay, it's not a problem at all. So I guess that's a long way of answering. Sometimes they're the same kids, sometimes they're different kids. That's where I'm very blessed to have Sandy Brown, who helps. She does all the attendance logistics. She makes sure we know who's there, who's not there, does all the phone calls to parents. If we're not sure where a kid's at, she kind of takes care of that. So
how are you doing connecting with the parents? I think that'd be even a bigger job.
it is the most challenging part. We're so new into it. I mean, it's kind of one of those, the ideas are rolling in my head. Things that maybe would have worked 3 to 5 years ago, I'm going, okay, we gotta change with the times and look to maybe more innovative ways of connecting with parents and families. So I think we have ideas in the works. Some of our older ideas and ways of doing things still do work. Our family night, I think there'll be 65 people there tonight. That's a pretty decent number for us, and being a small school and 41 kids involved. And I'm happy with those numbers. But you know, connecting on that, same thing. We need to connect with kids on a one-on-one basis. We also need to learn and find new ways to connect with parents on a one-on-one basis, and that's where it's a little more challenging.
Maybe I'll ask you in the spring.
Yeah, that'd be a good question for the spring. So I definitely have some ideas for that. We'll see how those ideas work in reality.
On the logistics side, how's busing done, or how do these kids get home? Was it school or parent responsibility? And then what grades did you say this was again?
We're running grades 3 through 6, and logistically, it's another one of those that when we first started it, I went, oh my, how are we gonna pull this off? And it's one of those, Hicksville always steps up, and Brian Dyke and his wife, they're like, we wanna do that for you. They saw the need, and they're like, this is a part of something we just feel like we wanna do. And so Brian drives the bus every single night. He pops in, and so does a great job. So, and another, we don't sometimes think of bus drivers as making those connections.
Oh, yeah.
Brian's pretty phenomenal. He makes those connections and
One
keeps
of
me
our,
up to date
one
on
of
all
our
the
main
things.
goals out at the school has been for several years is building relationships with kids and learning about them as a person, and getting to know them as a person, because they're gonna perform a lot better for you if you take the time to really get to know them. This connection that Nathan's making with these kids, a lot of those kids are the ones that probably need that the most. It's really good for them to be at this after-school program.
Yeah, and we have an excellent staff helping us out too. I've been amazed at the things that I've seen teachers do and things they've come up with that when you say, you know, we had our first meeting, oh, I'll have to turn the camera off for this. No, because I told them, do what you want. Do the things that you think are fun. Do things you would do with your own kids. Do those activities that you thought, I will never get to do this in school ever again. And that's what they've done. And to watch the kids, that's why I said I love that they're baking with them and cooking with them and doing all kinds of
And
games
they're all
with them.
volunteers?
No, they're getting paid. That's what a lot of the funding goes to. A percentage of the budget goes to paying the teachers and the staff members that are helping.
But you've got a lot of items that we'll be able to use for years after this is gone.
Yeah, that's one of the nice parts about the grant. At the end of the 5 years, any supplies or anything that we purchase through the grant stays with the school. So I'm sure to use those. So yes.
Is there like at the start, you kind of, is there any testing so you can see how far they've done through the
There
year,
is.
especially on math and reading?
Yes, we do progress monitoring with them, and we even do the positive youth development. I use a program called Thrively. So the kids go in, it does just a myriad of questions and answers, and that kind of tracks their interest levels for the positive youth development. And then we do STAR Math is the program that it's called. Now I try to keep them off of the screen as much as possible, because the goal of it is to be as hands-on and people-centered as possible, but I do use the technology to do the progress monitoring. It's about the fastest, most effective way to do that. So we use a program called Star Reading and Star Math that does all the progress monitoring. It allows us to take a snapshot of what they look like, beginning, middle, and end, and how I do it. Some of that I hope to see is natural growth, and some of it I hope is actual result of us supplying them with some of these extra enrichment activities. If nothing else, it creates a love for learning as well. And I've always argued that if they love learning, in general, they're going to perform better. Doesn't mean they're going to get an A every time, but we get better performance. So
You're not
developing
giving
that
them
love of
grades, are
learning.
you?
What's that?
You don't really give them grades in this.
Oh no, there's no grade at all.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
just beautiful. So no, this is just that enrichment. That's what I would sell it as. Any other?
And it's open to all kids, anybody that wants to get in?
Yes, no, it's only 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Well, yeah, but I mean in those grades.
I try to keep it as open as possible. We do have some requirements on, financial requirements. I try to
If
stay
you
as
got
clear
too
of
much
that.
money, you can't get into this thing?
Yes and no. I'm supposed to try to keep 80% free and reduced, but the nice thing is that kind of naturally happens. And I keep an open door policy. And turn the camera on. Any kid that wants to be involved.
That's kind of what I would think.
That's what we do. So. Yeah, the only thing, the grant does have some stipulations that we have to follow, but thus far, there's never been somebody that I've had to turn away. And, it was supposed to cap it at 40, we have 41 students involved. As far as I'm concerned, as long as we have teachers willing to help and we can keep those groups at 10, there's not gonna be a waiting list. If they wanna come and stay, we're letting them stay.
Looks like trouble, Mr. Countryman.
I know, that's the rebel in me right now, but if we're trying to make positive connections with families, that's a part of what we need to do, is that we're gonna be flexible and accommodating to those families.
So you're at your max.
Right now, I'm pretty maxed, yeah. Now I could take a few more students. It depends on the grade level as well. So I try to separate them by grade level. So I think I'm maxed on 4th grade. I really can't take any more 4th graders. I could probably 5th graders though. I combine the 5th and 6th graders, so I could probably take a few more 5th graders if they wanted to be involved. So anytime a kid wants to stay at school, I have a hard time saying you're not allowed. So.
Nathan, I think it's a wonderful program and you're to be commended. And I just wish that it would go up into the 6th and 7th grade, because there are a lot of kids that would have benefited from this if they'd have had it in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, because those middle school years are tough.
It is, yeah. You could extend it. So, again, it's also there've been growing pains as well, because that's been a very humbling experience. That's for sure. But those are good things for teachers too. A little bit of humble is always a good thing.
Cool kids aren't making fun of it.
No, and that's why if you look at the dynamic, I've kept it pretty. A long time ago, I worked with a gentleman who he always created these dynamics of groups that had a lot of variety in them, and I always wondered why it just always worked. And so the cool kids are there, so that helps me. Yes, and so that's where keeping that variety I think is kind of critical to. We have, but that's why we have to see them all as unique individuals who every one of them has gifts and talents, and when they start seeing that and seeing it in each other, that's when really powerful things in education happen, when we do put them in those types of environments. So on the kid side of things, I've seen a lot of very powerful things. So yeah, keeping the variety in the group dynamic I think is a critical factor. So that's why it's for anybody who wants to walk in our doors. So, all right, well, I think
Nicely done.
it was great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan, and I know my kids are 20 and 16 now, and they've had lots of classes with Mr. Ferrell, and they've always loved being in his classes, so.
Yeah, I tell the younger kids, I'm like, oh, you better learn to like me, because you're gonna have me like 6 or 7 times. So.
Yes. We
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah, don't do that.
your volunteering and setting that up. Please stand as we adjourn with the pledge.